The morning sun cast long shadows across the memorial garden on New Busan. Captain Kim Dae-ho would have loved this day. The sky was clear and blue, just like the skies of old Earth that he used to tell stories about. Now he lay still in his wooden casket, surrounded by flowers and the people who loved him. Commander Park Min-ji stood at attention near the gravesite. Her Carry uniform was pressed sharp and clean. Carry went to the honor guard behind her, held their rifles ready for the final salute. She had known Captain Kim for 20 years. He taught her how to fly her first spaceship. He taught her how to be brave when the darkness of space felt too big and scary. He was a good man, whispered Dr. Lee Jun-ho as he walked up beside her. The doctor wore his best black suit today. His speech was ready. He had written it 3 times to make sure every word was right. Captain Kim deserved the best words they could give him. The memorial garden was full of people. Families sat on wooden benches between the stone markers. Children played quietly near the flower beds, their parents watching them with gentle smiles. This was how humans said goodbye to their dead. With love, with respect. With everyone together, Mrs. Song Yoon-ji held her baby close to her chest as she wanted her daughter to see this, to understand that when people die, the community comes together, that death is not the end of love. The baby gurgled softly, reaching tiny fingers toward the colorful flowers. Todd engineer Han So-young checked her watch. The ceremony would start in 10 minutes. She had helped build this garden 5 years ago when the colony was still new. Every stone was placed by hand. Every tree was planted with care. This place meant something special to all of them. Young Corporal Choi Min-woo shifted, his weight from foot to foot. He was nervous. This was his first time serving in an honor guard. Captain Kim had recommended him for this duty before he died. The old captain said Min-woo had a good heart and steady hands. Now those hands held a rifle that would fire blanks into the sky to honor the dead. The colonists kept arriving. Some came from the farming districts outside the main settlement. Others came from the mining stations up in the mountains. A few came from the orbital platforms where they processed metals and gases from space. Everyone wanted to be here for Captain Kim. Mr. Park Sun-ho brought his 3 children. They sat quietly in the front row, their best clothes clean and neat. The youngest daughter asked in a whisper why everyone looked sad. Her father explained that they were not just sad. They were also happy to remember all the good things Captain Kim did in his life. The funeral followed old traditions, mixed with new ones. There were Korean customs that families brought from Earth generations ago. There were also new rituals that colonists created for life among the stars. The wooden casket was made from trees grown in New Busan soil. The flowers came from gardens tended by human hands under an alien sun. Commander Park Min-ji thought about all the times Captain Kim saved lives. He flew rescue missions during the terrible storms that hit the colony 3 years ago. He brought food to families when the supply ships were late. He taught children how to read star charts and dream of exploring new worlds. Dr. Lee Jun-ho opened his speech notes one more time. He wanted to tell everyone about Captain Kim's courage, about his kindness, about how he always said that humans were strongest when they helped each other. The doctor's hands shook a little. Speaking at funerals was never easy, even after all. These years, the honor guard stood ready. 6 young soldiers in clean uniforms. Their rifles were polished until they shined like mirrors. They had practiced the ceremony many times. 3 shots fired together into the sky. Then silence. Then the folding of the flag that would go to Captain Kim's sister back on Earth. Children from the colony school sat with their teacher. They had made drawings of Captain Kim flying his ship between the stars. They wrote letters thanking him for keeping them safe. To the ceremony, these would be buried with him. Paper and crayon pictures from small hands that wanted to say goodbye. The memorial garden held 200 people, but it felt peaceful instead of crowded. Everyone spoke in quiet voices. People hugged each other. They shared memories of Captain Kim. They told stories that made each other smile through their tears. Mrs. Kim Hiron, the colony's oldest resident, remembered when Captain Kim first arrived on New Busan 15 years ago. He was young then, full of energy and big dreams. He wanted to help build something good among the stars. He wanted to prove that humans could create beauty, even in the emptiness of space. The wind moved gently through the garden. It rustled the leaves of the memorial trees. It carried the scent of flowers across the gathering. Some people said they could almost hear Captain Kim's voice in that wind, telling them to take care of each other. Engineer Han So-young watched the children playing near the flower beds. They were laughing softly, careful not to be too loud during the ceremony. Captain Kim would have liked that. He always said that children's laughter was the best sound in any world. It meant there was hope for the future. The casket sat on a platform decorated with ribbons and flowers. Captain Kim's medals were displayed on a small table nearby. Service ribbons from his time in the Earth Defense Force, commendation medals from the Colonial Authority, a simple wooden star carved by the children of New Busan School. Tak Minanda Park, Minji looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, beyond the blue atmosphere of New Busan, ships moved between the stars. Trade vessels and passenger liners, military patrols and exploration craft. Captain Kim used to fly among them. Now other pilots would take his place, but no one would replace what he meant to this community. Dr. Lee Junho stepped forward to begin the ceremony. The crowd grew quiet. Even the children stopped their whispered games. This was the moment they had come for, to say goodbye properly, to honor a life well lived, showed their love for a man who gave everything to keep them safe. The memorial garden was ready. The people were ready. Captain Kim Dae-ho was ready for his final journey. Dr. Lee Junho stepped up to the wooden podium. His crowd grew quiet as he opened his notes. His voice carried across the memorial garden as he began to speak about Captain Kim Dae-ho's life. The words came from his heart, telling everyone about the man they all loved and respected. Captain Kim taught us that home is not a place, Dr. Lee said. Home is the people we choose to protect and love. He made New Busan our home. The colonists nodded and wiped tears from their eyes. His children leaned against their parents. Everyone listened to the stories about Captain Kim's kindness and courage. The morning sun warmed their faces as they remembered their friend. High above them, something moved in the empty space around New Busan. Ships appeared from nowhere, like ghosts becoming solid. The Valkyrie fleet had been watching and waiting. Their cloaking technology kept them hidden until this moment. General Dexfeld stood on the bridge of his command ship. His long arms moved over the control panels as he studied the human settlement below. The aliens looked like tall insects with 4 arms and green skin that shined like metal. Eyes were large and black, showing no emotion. Look at them, General Dexfeld said to his officers. All gathered together like weak prey animals. They waste time with their dead instead of preparing for war. The other Valkyrie made clicking sounds with their mouths. This was how they laughed. They thought human funeral customs were stupid and useless. Dead creatures could not fight or work. Why spend time honoring them? Begin the attack, General Dexfeld ordered. Show these humans what happens to species that are too soft to survive. The first energy beam came down from the sky like red lightning. It hit the outer edge of the memorial garden where families were sitting on benches. The blast turned stone and wood into fire and smoke. People screamed and ran in all directions. Commander Park Minji saw the flash of light before she heard the sound. Her training kicked in immediately. She grabbed her communication device and started shouting orders to anyone who could hear her. This is Commander Park. We are under attack. All security personnel report to stations immediately. Begin evacuation procedures now. Another energy blast hit the center of the garden. The explosion threw dirt and flower petals into the air. The beautiful memorial trees that took years to grow were destroyed in seconds. Mrs. Song Yanji held her baby tight and ran toward the nearest building. Corporal Choi Min-woo dropped his ceremonial rifle and pulled out his combat weapon. His hands were shaking, but his aim was steady. He could not shoot at ships in space, but he could help protect the people running for safety. Get the children to the emergency shelters, he yelled to the school teacher. Stay low and move fast. Dr. Lee Jun-ho left his speech notes scattered on the ground. He ran to help injured people who were hurt by flying debris. His medical training told him to save lives first. His heart told him to cry for the sacred ceremony that was being destroyed. Engineer Han So-young reached the colony's control center and started working on the defensive systems. Her fingers moved quickly over the computer controls. Emergency shields began to form a protective dome over the main buildings. Shields at 60% power. She called out to Commander Park through the communication system. Hey, we're not built for this kind of attack. I do not know how long they will hold. The Valkyrie ships kept firing. Each energy blast was aimed to cause maximum fear and destruction. They hit the memorial stones that marked graves of other colonists who had died over the years. They hit the flower gardens where children played. They hit everything that the humans held sacred. Mr. Park's son, Hole covered his 3 children with his own body as they crawled toward safety. His youngest daughter was crying and asking why the bad people were hurting them. He had no answer that would make sense to a 5-year-old child. We have to be brave like Captain Kim, he whispered to his children. He would want us to take care of each other. The honor guard soldiers scattered 2 different positions around the colony. They had trained for attacks like this, but training was different from reality. The ceremonial uniforms they wore offered no protection from energy weapons or falling debris. Mrs. Kim Hyran, the colony's oldest resident, refused to leave the memorial garden. She sat beside Captain Kim's casket and held his folded flag against her chest. Explosions happened all around her, but she would not abandon the man who had protected them for so many years. You coward aliens, she shouted at the sky. Attack us when we honor our dead. You have no shame. You have no souls. Commander Park Mingi reached the old woman and tried to pull her to safety. Mrs. Kim fought against her, tears streaming down her wrinkled face. They destroyed his funeral, Mrs. Kim cried. They destroyed everything beautiful we made for him. How can people be so cruel? The Valkyrie communication channels were full of laughter and cruel comments. They were recording the attack to show other species what happened to civilizations that were too weak to defend themselves. General Dexville was pleased with how the surprise attack was working. Humans are even weaker than our intelligence reports suggested, he said. They gather in large groups with no weapons. They waste resources on dead bodies. They show emotion instead of fighting back. But the Valkyrie general was wrong about one important thing. The humans were fighting back, just with weapons and shields, but with something the aliens did not understand. They were fighting to protect what they loved most. Young mothers carried babies to safety, while fathers stood guard with whatever weapons they could find. Teachers protected students. Doctors treated wounded people under fire. Engineers kept the power systems running so the shelters would have light and air. The attack continued for 20 more minutes. When it finally stopped, half of the memorial garden was destroyed. Captain Kim's beautiful funeral ceremony was ruined. Sacred ground was torn apart. Memorial stones were broken into pieces, but the humans were still there, hurt and angry, but still alive, still together, still caring for each other. Commander Park Minji looked at the destruction around her. Smoke rose from burning trees. Wounded people sat on the ground, being treated by Dr. Lee Jun-ho and other medical staff. Children cried in their parents' arms. Aliens had made a terrible mistake. They thought destroying a funeral would break human spirit. Instead, they had just shown the galaxy exactly what kind of creatures they were, and they had made the humans very, very angry. The news traveled fast through human space. Emergency signals carried the terrible story from New Busan to every human colony, space station, and military base. The message was simple but shocking. Aliens had attacked during Captain Kim Dae-ho's funeral. They destroyed sacred ground while families mourned their dead. Admiral Yoon Tae-young was eating breakfast on his flagship when the communication came through. He was a calm man who rarely showed strong emotions, but when he heard about the attack, his coffee cup slipped from his hands and crashed to the floor. "They did what?" I asked his communication officer. He could not believe what he was hearing. "Sir, the aliens attacked New Busan during a funeral ceremony. Civilian families were targeted while they honored their dead. The memorial garden was destroyed." Admiral Yoon stood up slowly. His face was pale with anger. In 30 years of military service, he had never heard of anything so cruel and disrespectful. Attacking soldiers was one thing. Attacking mourners was something completely different. "Send emergency orders to all fleet commanders," he said. "Every available ship is to prepare for immediate departure. We are going to New Busan." The response from human colonies was unlike anything seen before. On Earth, people stopped working and held prayer services for the dead of New Busan. On Mars, families lit candles in their windows. On the mining stations of the asteroid belt, tough miners cried openly when they heard the news. Captain Nam Hyran commanded the heavy cruiser Seoul. She had just finished a peaceful trade mission when the orders came through. Her crew was looking forward to shore leave and visiting their families. Instead, they were preparing for war. "This is not just an attack on one colony," she told her officers. "This is an attack on everything we believe in. Every human who has ever buried a loved one with respect and dignity." Her crew nodded grimly. Many of them had attended funerals like the one destroyed on New Busan. They understood what made this attack so terrible. The aliens had not just killed people. They had destroyed something sacred. Lieutenant Kim Young-ho was the ship's communication officer. He had been at his grandmother's funeral just 2 months ago. The ceremony was peaceful and beautiful, just like Captain Kim's funeral should have been. The thought of aliens destroying such a moment made him sick with anger. "Ma'am, we are receiving messages from civilian ships throughout the sector," he reported. "Merchant vessels, passenger liners, even private yachts. They all want to join the fleet and help fight these aliens." Captain Nam was surprised. Civilian ships were not built for combat. Their crews were not trained soldiers, but she understood why they wanted to help. This attack had hurt every human who heard about it within 3 days. The largest human fleet in history was gathering near New Busan. Military warships came from every sector of human space. Fast destroyers and heavy battleships, carrier ships, loaded with fighter craft, supply vessels carrying everything needed for a long campaign. But something strange happened before the attack began. Admiral Yoon made an announcement that surprised everyone, including his own officers. "Before we take revenge on these aliens," he said over the fleet communication system, "we will honor our dead properly. We will hold memorial services for Captain Kim Dae-ho and all the people killed on New Busan. Every ship in this fleet will participate." The Valkyrie scouts watching the human fleet were confused. General Dexpel expected the humans to attack immediately while they were angry. Instead, the entire fleet stopped moving and began some kind of ceremony. "What are they doing?" General Dexpel asked his intelligence officers. "Why did they waste time with more funeral rituals? We proved that such things make them weak." Human fleet formed a large circle in space around New Busan on every ship. Crews gathered in their mess halls and meeting rooms. They held memorial services for people Most of them had never met. But it did not matter. Captain Kim and the other victims were human, and that made them family. Dr. Lee Jun-ho, who survived the attack, was brought aboard Admiral Yoon's flagship. He gave the same eulogy he tried to give in the memorial garden. This time, his words reached thousands of human soldiers and sailors throughout the fleet. Captain Kim taught us that home is not a place, Dr. Lee said, his voice broadcast to every ship. Home is the people we choose to protect and love. Today, we protect his memory. Today, we show the galaxy what happens when someone attacks our family. Commander Park Minji stood beside him during the broadcast. Her uniform was torn and dirty from the battle on New Busan, but she stood straight and proud. She spoke about the children who were hurt during the attack. She spoke about the memorial stones that were destroyed. She spoke about the sacred ground that was violated. The aliens think our respect for the dead makes us weak, she said. They will learn how wrong they are. Captain Nam Hyran listened to the memorial service from her command bridge. Round her, tough combat veterans wiped tears from their eyes. These were people who had seen battle and death many times. But hearing about families attacked during a funeral ceremony affected them deeply. The memorial services lasted for 6 hours. Every person killed on New Busan was remembered by name. Their stories were told. Their contributions to the colony were honored. The fleet held a moment of silence that lasted exactly as long as Captain Kim's funeral should have lasted. When the ceremonies ended, something had changed in the human fleet. The anger was still there, but it was now focused and controlled. These were not just soldiers seeking revenge. They were defenders of everything humans held sacred. Admiral Yoon sent a message to General Dexful and the Valkyrie Empire. The message was translated into every known alien language and broadcast throughout the galaxy. You attacked us while we honored our dead, the message said. You destroyed sacred ground and hurt innocent families. You showed the galaxy what kind of creatures you are. Now we will show the galaxy what kind of creatures we are. Surrender now or face the consequences of your actions. The Valkyrie laughed at the human message. General Daxful thought the humans were still being weak by giving warning instead of attacking immediately. He ordered his fleet to prepare for what he expected to be an easy victory. He had no idea what was coming for him. The human fleet moved through space like a storm of metal and fire. Admiral Yoon Tae-young led over 300 ships toward the Valkyrie territories. The aliens had made their choice. Now they would face the consequences. Captain Nam Hyran's cruiser Seoul was part of the advance force. Her job was to capture enemy ships and gather information about Valkyr military positions. The first battle happened near a small Valkyr outpost on the edge of their space. The fight was quick and brutal. Human ships surrounded the alien vessels before they could escape or call for help. The Valkyrie had better individual ships, but the humans had better teamwork and more anger driving them forward. Valkyrie vessel. This is Captain Nam of the Human Defense Fleet. She broadcast to the damaged alien ship. Surrender now and prepare to be boarded. Resist, and we will destroy you. The alien commander tried to fight back, but his ship was already too damaged. Within minutes, human Marines were walking through the corridors of their first captured Valkyrie vessel. Lieutenant Park Jisoo led the boarding team. She was a tough Marine who had fought in battles before, but this was her first time seeing live Valkyrie up close. They were taller than humans, with green skin and 4 arms. Their large black eyes showed fear as the humans took control of their ship. Secure all crew members, Lieutenant Park ordered. Treat them fairly, but keep them under guard. Admiral Yoon wants prisoners for questioning. The captured Valkyrie were brought to the human flagship for interrogation. Dr. Lee Jun-ho had volunteered to help with the questioning process. He was not a soldier, but he understood languages and cultures better than most military officers. The first Valkyrie prisoner was a young officer named Kathanar. He sat in the interrogation room with his 4 arms chained to the table. His black eyes darted around nervously as Dr. Lee and Commander Park Minji entered the room. "We are not here to hurt you," Dr. Lee said in the Valkyrie language. He had been studying their speech patterns since the attack. "We want to understand why your people attacked our funeral ceremony." Kathanar looked surprised that the human could speak his language. He remained silent for several minutes, but finally began to talk. "General Dexwell said humans were weak because they waste time on dead bodies," the young alien said. "Attacking during your death ritual would break your spirit and make you surrender quickly." Commander Park Minji felt her anger rising again. The thought of aliens planning to attack during a funeral made her sick, but Dr. Lee held up his hand, asking her to stay calm. "Tell me about Valkyrie death rituals," Dr. Lee said. "How do your people honor those who die?" Kathanar looked confused by the question. "Why do you want to know about our sacred ceremonies? Are you planning to attack them too?" "Just answer the question," Commander Park said firmly. The young alien was quiet for a long time. Then he began to speak about something called the final harmony. Dr. Lee listened carefully, asking questions and taking notes. What he learned changed everything. The Valkyrie had their own funeral traditions that were thousands of years old. When a Valkyrie died, their body was placed in a special crystal that grew slowly over many years. The crystals were kept in sacred places called harmony gardens. Families would visit these gardens to remember their dead ancestors. "The final harmony is the most important thing in Valkyrie life," Kathanar explained. "It connects us to all the generations that came before us. Without the harmony gardens, we would lose our souls." Dr. Lee asked more questions about these crystal ceremonies. He learned that the Valkyrie had entire worlds dedicated to honoring their dead. Millions of crystal formations grew in vast gardens that took centuries to complete. These cemetery worlds were considered the most sacred places in their entire empire. "Where are these harmony gardens located?" Tarly asked. Kathanar's eyes grew wide with fear. "You cannot attack the sacred worlds. They are protected by ancient laws. Even during wars, no one attacks the places where the dead rest in harmony." Dr. Lee and Commander Park looked at each other. They were both thinking the same thing. The aliens had their own version of Captain Kim's funeral ceremony. They had their own sacred places for remembering the dead. Yet, they had attacked a human funeral without any thought or respect. Over the next few days, human forces captured more Valkyrie ships and prisoners. Every interrogation revealed more information about the final harmony and the crystal cemetery worlds. Dr. Lee compiled all the information into a detailed report for Admiral Yoon. "Sir, the Valkyrie have funeral traditions that are just as important to them as ours are to us," Dr. Lee explained during a command meeting. "They have entire worlds dedicated to honoring their dead ancestors." Admiral Yoon studied the report carefully. His officers waited quietly as he read about the crystal gardens and the sacred cemetery worlds. When he finished reading, he looked up with a cold smile. "So the aliens who attacked our funeral have their own funerals that they consider sacred," he said. "How interesting." Captain Nam Hyren understood what the Admiral was thinking. "Sir, are you suggesting we target their cemetery worlds?" "Okay, I'm suggesting we give them the same choice they gave us," Admiral Yoon replied. "Okay, they can surrender and make proper apologies for what they did. Or they can watch us destroy everything they hold sacred." The human fleet changed direction and headed toward Valkyrie Prime, the homeworld of the alien empire. Intelligence reports showed that the planet contained the oldest and most sacred harmony gardens in their entire civilization. Millions of Valkyrie ancestors rested there in crystal formations that had been growing for thousands of years. Commander Park Mingi felt strange about the plan. Part of her wanted revenge for the attack on Captain Kim's funeral, but another part I've wondered if destroying alien graves would make humans just as bad as the Valkyrie. Sir, what if we become like them? She asked Admiral Yoon privately. What if attacking their sacred places makes us lose our humanity? Admiral Yoon considered her question carefully. Commander, they attacked families mourning their dead. They laughed while destroying sacred ground. They need to understand what they have done. Sometimes the only way to teach respect is to show what happens when you have none. The human fleet continued toward Valkyrie Prime. Soon General Dexville would learn what it felt like to have his most sacred places threatened. Soon he would understand the price of attacking a human funeral. The human fleet arrived at Valkyrie Prime like a dark cloud covering the stars. 300 ships surrounded the beautiful blue and green world that held the most sacred cemetery in the alien empire. Admiral Yoon Tae-young stood on his command bridge, looking down at the planet that could end this war. Below them, the Harmony Gardens stretched across entire continents. Millions of crystal formations caught the light of Valkyrie Prime's twin suns. Each crystal held the remains of a Valkyrie ancestor, growing slowly over centuries into beautiful monuments of memory and love. General Dexville received the human fleet's arrival with panic. His military advisors told him the humans had enough firepower to destroy his entire homeworld, but he never imagined they would threaten the sacred cemetery grounds. They are bluffing, he told his officers. No civilized species attacks burial sites. It is against all galactic laws and customs. But deep in his heart, General Dexville remembered the human funeral his forces had destroyed. He remembered the laughter of his soldiers as they fired on mourning families. That same fear was growing in his own chest. Captain Nam Hyran prepared her ship's weapon systems while engineer Han Soyoung worked on a special device. The weapon would not kill any living creatures, but it would systematically destroy every crystal formation on the planet below. Its target locked on the Northern Harmony Garden, reported Lieutenant Kim Young-ho. All ships report, ready to fire on your command, Admiral. Admiral Yoon opened a communication channel that reached every Valkyrie military base and civilian center. His voice was calm and cold as he spoke to the entire alien empire. People of the Valkyrie Empire, this is Admiral Yoon Tae-young of the Human Defense Fleet. Your military forces attacked our people during a sacred funeral ceremony. You destroyed memorial gardens where families honored their dead. You showed no respect for our most important traditions. On Valkyrie Prime, millions of aliens listened to the human broadcast. Many had never heard of the attack on New Busan. They did not know their military had done something so terrible and disrespectful. Now you will learn what it feels like to have your sacred places threatened, Admiral Yoon continued. We have weapons aimed at every Harmony Garden on your homeworld. We can destroy in minutes what took your people thousands of years to build. General Dexville felt his forearms shaking with fear and anger. The humans were threatening everything his species held sacred. All the ancestors resting in crystal harmony. All the memories and traditions of his entire civilization. Boss, you cannot do this, he broadcast back to the human fleet. Harmony Gardens are protected by galactic law. Valkyrie. Attacking them would be a crime against civilization itself. Dr. Lee Junho took over the communication system. His voice was sadder, but just as firm as the Admiral's. General Dexville, you attacked our funeral ceremony. You destroyed our memorial garden while families mourned their dead. You laughed while firing on sacred ground. Now tell me, what law protected our ceremony? What respect did you show our traditions? The alien general had no answer. He remembered ordering the attack. He remembered thinking human funeral customs were signs of weakness. Now he understood how wrong he had been. Commander Park Minji watched the crystal formations through her ship's viewing screen. They were beautiful in a way that reminded her of the memorial garden on New Busan. Even alien graves deserved respect. Even enemy traditions had meaning and value. Admiral, she said quietly, what if they surrender? What if they agree to make things right? Admiral Yoon nodded. He had been thinking the same thing. Destroying the Harmony Gardens would make humans just as cruel as the Valkyrie, but the threat had to be real for the lesson to work. General Dexville, Admiral Yoon broadcast. You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. You will make public apologies for attacking our funeral. You will pay to rebuild our memorial garden. You will promise never to attack any species during their sacred ceremonies. The hour passed slowly. Aquaria Prime. Emergency meetings happened in government buildings. Aquaria commanders argued with civilian leaders. Some wanted to fight the humans. Others wanted to surrender and save their sacred cemetery worlds. General Dexville stood in his command center, looking at images of the Harmony Gardens. His own grandfather's crystal was in the Eastern Garden, grown over 200 years into a beautiful blue formation. His great-grandmother rested in the Southern Garden, her crystal clear as water and tall as a tree. With 10 minutes left before the deadline, General Dexville made his choice. Human fleet, this is General Dexville. I surrender unconditionally. Please do not destroy our Harmony Gardens. I will come to your flagship to negotiate terms. Relief swept through both fleets. Admiral Yoon felt proud that the aliens had chosen wisdom over foolish pride. The Valkyrie crews felt grateful that their most sacred places would be saved. General Dexville arrived on the human flagship in a small transport ship. He brought with him ancient Valkyrie artifacts as gifts of peace, sacred objects from their most important ceremonies, proof that he understood the seriousness of what had happened. Dr. Lee Jun-ho met with the alien general in a conference room. Commander Park, Minji, and other human officers were there as witnesses. General Dexville looked different now. His pride was gone, replaced by shame and understanding. I have made a terrible mistake, General Dexville said in broken human language. I did not understand that your funeral ceremony was as sacred to you as our final harmony is to us. I thought your respect for the dead made you weak. I was wrong. The peace negotiations took 3 days. General Dexville agreed to all human demands. He made public apologies that were broadcast throughout the galaxy. He promised that Valkyrie forces would never again attack any species during their sacred ceremonies. Most importantly, signed a new galactic treaty protecting funeral rites and memorial ceremonies for all species. Any civilization that attacked another during religious or cultural ceremonies would face the combined military forces of both humans and Valkyrie. 6 months later, a new memorial garden was built on New Busan. Representatives from dozens of alien species attended the dedication ceremony. General Dexville himself planted the first tree. A gesture of respect and apology, Captain Kim Daeho's grave was rebuilt in the center of the garden, surrounded by flowers from many different worlds. The inscription on his memorial stone was written in 12 languages, including Valkyrie script. Corporal Choi Minwoo, now promoted to captain, gave tours to alien visitors who came to learn about human funeral customs. Children from different species played together in the memorial garden, while their parents shared stories about how their cultures honored the dead. The war had ended not with destruction, but with understanding. The galaxy had learned that some things are too sacred to attack, and some lessons can only be taught through showing mercy instead of revenge.